Thank you everyone for tuning in. February 12th, 2020 edition of the National Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series. I'm your host, Kenneth L. Johnson, president of the Harlem-based diversity recruitment firm East Coast Executives. And I'm really excited to be here today for this Tysons Foods sponsored edition of the Digital Career Success Series. One of the reasons I'm so excited is because a good friend is in the building today. She is Stephanie Humphries, AKA Tech Life Steph.
Tech Life Steph.
Tech Life Steph is in the building. Listen, I want to share a little bit about Tech Life Steph with you. Stephanie Humphries is technology and lifestyle expert, former engineer who merges her passion for lifestyle media with the in-depth tech expertise to show everyday people how empowering, enriching, and fun technology can be. She is currently contributor for the ABC News, where she works as part of the nationally syndicated Strahan, Sara, and Keke team. Need I say any more? She also has been a guest expert on the daytime morning show Home and Family on the Hallmark Channel and Sister Circle Live on TV One. Excited to have her. She's channeled this motivation into a seminar called Tell Death Do You Tweet. The seminar, tailored to either students, parents, or professionals, helps them understand the potential negative consequences of online behavior, especially through social media, and gives helpful advice on how people can maintain a positive reputation in cyberspace. Her expertise is built upon more than a decade as a senior systems engineer at Lockheed Martin, and she possesses engineering degrees from FAMU, the Rattlers, am I correct? Yes. And the University of Pennsylvania. Shout out to Philly. Listen, Steph, I'm glad you're here today.
I'm so happy to be here.
Man, this is incredible.
Yes,
right?
yes.
So you took the time, you're in Manhattan, you're here at the National Urban League headquarters for this Digital Career Success Series.
Mm-hmm.
All right, listen, everybody's excited. I was looking at the feed. We're getting a lot of just interest in the topic. Today, you know, we're set up to talk about how people can take non-traditional careers and turn them into tech careers, right? So I really wanted to speak about that topic in general, right? How did you get into the whole tech space in general?
So it definitely was not a straight line.
Okay.
I was working for Lockheed, and cubicle life, a room with no windows, kind of that whole thing. It wasn't super fulfilling. It was a decent paycheck.
Okay, of course.
But it wasn't super fulfilling. And so I started looking for some different exit strategies out of that space. And one of those ended up being sort of the entertainment industry, if you will. A friend of mine asked me to be in a fashion show.
Okay.
And so I did the show, and there was a woman there that had an agency, a modeling agency. And she's like, "Oh my God, you were great. Do you model?" I'm like, "Nah, yeah, I'm just here getting the discount, on the shopping that I get to do after the show." But that was kind of the seed that was planted. So I looked into that. And I really, my only motivation was to find something fun that would be a good diversion from what I did for my 9 to 5.
Sure.
So if I could get out of that cubicle every once in a while, do something really fun, go take some pictures or whatever. But it sort of started morphing and taking on a life of its own. So I ended up, hosting some things and reporting traffic for the news, and acting in a couple feature films and a few other things. But then in 2011, I had a meeting with a mentor of mine and was trying to figure out how I could go a little bit further in the business, because I was coming up against some resistance in the entertainment reporting space, because there are journalists that do that.
Sure, right.
And now here I come, like, I'm not a journalist, but I think I look pretty good on camera. And they're like, "No, we don't care." And so, the mentor asked me, he's like, "Well, what are you doing? You're wasting everything you already had in pursuit of this thing, when you could be doing both." And it hadn't occurred to me at that time, because I think I had so closely linked the idea of tech and all of that with something that I was trying to get away from, that I didn't realize. I mean, I was born an engineer.
Sure.
This is what I do. I solve problems. I help people understand technology. And now that I had all this sort of newfound media training and experience, I realized I could put the tech with that
Okay.
and do something that there weren't a whole lot of people out there doing and become a technology and lifestyle expert.
So you're speaking, I think you've done an extremely good job of kind of merging the two, like tech and media, right? But were there some innate transferable skills that you possessed that allowed you to be successful or as successful as you've been in kind of leaning and kind of creating a path?
Right. I think so, because engineers are problem solvers.
Okay.
So all we do is basically take big problems, break them down into small problems, and systematically you sort of go through the process. And I think that helped me in a business that is 90% rejection.
Oh, okay.
Because you know,
because you're testing through. Is
exactly,
that what, okay.
You're testing theories, and okay, this didn't work, so what are we going to do next? So it helps not take things personally. It helps so that you're not getting caught up in the emotion of the thing, because you're just figuring out what the next thing is.
Okay.
So, you know, listen, I have 3 auditions here. If 2 of them don't work out, we'll get on that one.
Sure.
If that doesn't go, then we'll set up 3 more. You know what I mean? So it really makes the process replicable.
Okay.
And it helps you get through it because you're focused on the process and not necessarily, you know, what you think people think of you and the outcome.
You know, I do a lot of career coaching, and I've never looked at rejection as being a transferable skill, or the ability to deal with
deal with it.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think that's what it is. I think you know, I think innately it's not necessarily about you, but if it is, what do I need to fix? What do I need to adjust? What do I need to go back and A/B test?
Sure.
You know, for the next thing.
That's the engineer in you, right?
Seriously. Yeah. So I think the process of navigating this career has been greatly helped for me by the processes that I used to use as an engineer.
Sure.
Definitely.
So let's talk about navigating the career, right? Just looking at what you do, and in tech in general, as I speak to people that kind of operate on a tech path. So 2 things, right? The tech path being a new path and constantly changing because technology is constantly evolving, right? And then the media side, and I know people that kind of operate in that space, and a lot of times it's a dog eat dog world, right?
Yeah.
So how do you manage to situate yourself or be motivated even without a lot of mentors in the space?
Well, it's tough because, and I was just recently, within I say the last, 6 months or so, I realized, and I mean, definitely don't want to disrespect anybody that is out there doing. I know Jenna Wortham used to write for the New York Times in the tech space. Corvita Raven does some stuff, but I'm kind of the only me that exists right now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? When you think about who is out there on a national platform, and I say that without just trace of facetiousness. I wish there was another me that I could be like, hey, what did you, Mario Armstrong, I think is the closest
I'm not
thing.
familiar,
He is actually the technology contributor to the Today Show.
Oh, really? Okay.
So he was, I think, the CIO of the city of Baltimore at one point, and was in IT and made that transition into media. So he is the closest thing to me that exists on this national platform.
Gotcha.
But as far as Black woman in tech, in media, I'm kind of the only me that exists right now. So it's been a challenge to have to sort of forge this path and make it up as you go along, pretty much. But, again, with those transferable skills, I literally just reverse engineered the whole thing. Because I would say back in 2011, when I had that sort of come to Jesus light bulb moment that I could combine my media training and experience with my tech background, that was the moment that I said, I want to be a nationally syndicated media personality in technology.
Wow.
So what's that, 2011? We were in 2020. So 9 years ago, I knew this is where I wanted to end up.
I think that's an important part of the conversation. I think people see someone on the Strahan, Sara, and Keke show and think, oh, wow, she just popped up.
On.
Yeah, she did, right. But you've been doing this for a decade.
I've been doing this
working
for a
towards
long time.
a goal.
Absolutely.
Right. So making a decision on what it was that you wanted to do, believing that there's a lane for you in that and kind of manifesting that through, right?
Yep.
Wow, great story. So listen, I want to talk about this before we kind of get into the flow. But lessons learned through the process, right? While you were building your tech brand, so you're spending 10 years building your tech brand, right? As you look back on it, because there are a lot of people probably sitting on this actual DCSS wondering, like, I'm trying to build a brand here in the space, but I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. What are the lessons that you've learned through the process?
So consistency is key. I mean, I cannot stress that enough because entrepreneurship and social media will have you thinking that there is always a next best thing or the new hotness or whatever. You got a lot of people chasing a lot of different things. 1 minute is blockchain, next minute is cryptocurrency, next minute is, I'm on this thing, and you really need to hone in on your why, not and the why can't be because I want money or I want to be famous or anything like that. You need to find out what it is that is getting you out of bed every morning, that thing that you are passionate about, because that's what's going to sustain you over 10 years when things ain't going well, when people ain't calling you back, when it doesn't seem like anything you're doing is working out. You need to know that there is a reason that I chose this path.
Right.
So that's the first thing.
Okay.
You gotta baseline that why, and it needs to mean more to you than anything else.
Sure.
Because that's what you're going to have to sustain you. And then once you find that why, just stick with it. Honestly, everybody's like, oh my God, how'd you do it? I hung in there.
Yeah.
I hung in there. Honestly, I wish there was some secret that I could be like, you know what? The secret is, and it really is just hang in there, be consistent, be persistent, and believe that your why matters, and you will be successful.
I was having a conversation the other day, just with job seekers in general, right? So they were like, listen, you've kind of carved out a space in the lane that you're in, doing the diversity recruitment piece, right? What do you credit that success to? And it's the same answer, right? When I started, I knew exactly what it was that I was here to do.
Absolutely.
And I just kind of stayed in the lane and kept moving forward and kind of making allies in the space, right? So I'm just wondering, with someone like yourself, African-American female, working in the tech space, we hear about the numbers at tech companies, how underrepresented minorities are in general, but specifically African-American women for this conversation, right?
Yeah.
How do you has being tech savvy allowed you to expand your network of tech professionals just because now you really can touch people that are maybe doing things in LA or maybe doing things in New York?
It's interesting. It's funny. It's been sort of the reverse of that. And I think some of that, I know what to attribute some of that to. So when I was actually working as an engineer, tech people are arrogant. Let's just keep that real. Especially engineers, we think we know everything. It's like doctors, engineers right here. So when you start looking at who gets to say that they're quote unquote in tech, you tend to sort of gravitate towards those people that have those actual skills and that actual training and those actual degrees. But as what I found since I've been on the media side of it is that I'm getting a lot of that same backlash.
Okay.
So I've had to sort of qualify a lot of what I do with the idea that, oh no, by the way, I am an engineer. Don't get it twisted.
Right.
I do still have 2 engineering degrees. You know what I mean? I worked really, really hard for those too. So it's been very interesting to see how I've been received since I've been on this side of things, because I don't know that I'm taken as seriously. Because you're just on TV, and I'm like, no, I worked hard for a long time to get the quote unquote real credentials, and it was a shift that I needed to make in how I saw other people in the tech space as well. I think there's room for everybody in that space. Everybody's not going to be coding 20 hours a day. Everybody's not going to be, getting patents for different, mechanical things or whatever. There's marketing to be done. There's HR to be done. There's, technical writing to be done. So there's room for everybody in the tech space. And that is one thing I would like that I hope my platform will be to expand what it means to be in tech for people.
I believe it will, because of some of the things we'll speak about a little later. I really wanted to get a understanding of kind of where you see just tech in general going. Like, there's an evolution consistently in the tech space, right?
Absolutely.
But what excites you when you look forward to kind of things that are kind of on the horizon?
Well, I like the fact that, at least appearance-wise, tech has been somewhat democratized. So anybody with an idea now, every company, that whole concept of every company being a tech company, anybody with a good idea can work really hard and see this thing through to, going public or a cool exit.
Sure.
or something like that. However, I want to see more emphasis placed on the actual STEM side of it. I think right now we're in this time where entrepreneurship reigns, rules the day. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to have a startup. Everybody wants to, have a 9-figure exit because Google buys them out and everything else. And, we got Series A and Series B, and I got my angels over here, and I got, and you hear all these buzzwords, and that's great. And I think that's a great way to generate wealth, especially in the Black community, and keep those dollars recycled in the Black community. However, I think, I would love to still see the same amount of emphasis placed on the idea of STEM. Because unfortunately, I feel like STEM is getting a little bit lost in this whole conversation because you don't need an engineering degree or a chemistry degree necessarily to be in the tech space. I think the STEM side of it is getting lost, and we still need STEM professionals of color to, invent the next super soaker and the stoplight and find uses for peanuts and different things like that. So we still need those STEM professionals in the space as much as we need the entrepreneurs.
So how do you view, and this is a question, this actually will make sense from the standpoint of non-traditional careers in tech environments, right? So how do you view the fact that, thinking about some of the kickback some of the pushback you were receiving that resulted in you needing to share with people that you are an actual engineer, right? Now you see some of the really large tech companies saying, listen, we're taking the degree requirements off of our position descriptions to allow more people to come into the fold, right? How do you view that just as a professional?
I'm not necessarily mad at that, because I think coding, there are a lot of coding boot camps out there that do a really great job of preparing people for software development and engineering. So, if we can make it a little bit easier for more people of color that maybe aren't in a position to go get a 4-year degree, but they can take a 6-month coding boot camp and get in there, because a lot of the coding boot camps now, I can't remember the name of the term, but they have it so that you don't have to pay for the boot camp until you get a job.
I'm familiar with programs like that.
Exactly. So, this lowers the barrier to entry to almost zero at this point. And it's just about how hard you're willing to work to get through it. So I'm not mad at that. And I think, once you're in, you're still not getting the job unless you have the skill set. So it's not like there's some sort of affirmative action or something like that they're letting unqualified people through the door. You're still not getting the job. So I think that's a great thing. I think it's a great way to sort of fill those ranks with people of color.
I love it. I love it. Digital Career Success Series, Urban League Jobs Network. You being here to speak about this really kind of personifies and actually really adds, I guess, credence to the fact that people really can go out here and pursue non-traditional tech careers, tech careers in non-traditional environments. So when you kind of set out on your journey to do this, you had an idea of what it was, what skills you wanted to merge together, But how does a person get to that? Like, there's a person sitting here watching this, having their lunch in their cubicle saying, wow, there's a piece out there that's for me. I kind of want to explore tech, because you keep hearing explore tech careers because it's a growing industry, Explore tech careers because you have a opportunity to make a real difference in creating things and just being kind of bringing your full self to work, which is a big piece in the diversity and inclusion discussion. So for you, how would you suggest that individuals that are entry level in their careers or even mid-level in their careers really kind of tune in? What resources are out there, or what channels kind of occupy your interests that you believe could be a great resource for people looking to come in?
So you're saying somebody in a tech career that's looking to see what they
even
can
if
do.
they're not in a tech career, like somebody is saying, you know what, I want to explore tech, but I just need an entry level understanding of where I could go, where are the hot industries moving forward.
Right. So if you were looking to get into coding specifically, I would say codeacademy.org. I mean, it's free, and it's a way to see if that's something that you even want to do, because before you go down that road, coding's no joke. And so before you go down that road, I think it's worth it to take a couple classes to see if that is something that you're interested in. And then I would look into an internship, honestly, and see if you can shadow in different areas of a tech company, and see if that's something that you want to do. I mean, honestly, you really, it really is just a matter of sort of creating that opportunity for yourself. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what you don't know. So it's like, all right, I want a tech career. What company do I think personifies what I want to do most? If it's Google, go to Google.
Pursue that. And
say, listen, I'm interested in an internship. I'm interested in shadowing some people. I'm interested in, I think you're really only limited by your own willingness to do the work and pursue the opportunity.
Excellent. So I'm a follower of your work, right? And you do something that I believe is so amazing, just because I think it's so important. You do a 60-second tech break, right? Explain to me how that came about, and if you can explain to our audience what that is, I'd appreciate it.
So the 60-second tech break is obviously a 60-second video that I usually drop most Wednesdays around 3-ish in the afternoon.
Oh, see, I didn't know there was an actual schedule for the
Wednesdays at 3. But the motivation behind it was just content. As you're talking about brand building and using social media for brand building, content is still king. People still want to see you produce something. And most of the content that I push out on a daily basis is curated content. So there's 2 different kinds. You can curate content. So I pull information from other sources, the TechCrunches and the Mashables of the world, and I push that back out sort of with my thoughts attached to it. And then there's content that you create. And I still wanted to be able to actually create content as well, because, how are you a tech expert when you're not actually creating anything tech related? So, I felt like personally, I don't like to watch videos that are longer than about 5 minutes. My attention span anymore with these phones is very short. So I figured if you can just watch something, learn something, and then go do that thing. So watch, learn, do is the tagline of the 60-second tech break, because you literally can sit there for a minute. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, let me go change this privacy settings, or let me enable this setting on my phone so that I can silence unknown callers, or whatever that thing is. And my mission in life, when people say, what is a technology and lifestyle expert too? I show people how technology makes their lives easier. So I'm working for the 99% of people that don't care about a Series A round of funding and don't necessarily care about coding, but they have one of these and they want to know how to use it better. Or they have a kid that's on TikTok and they want to understand what the potential risks might be for that young person. And so I'm literally just always consuming tech content. I go off of what people ask. Some people submit questions to me and I say, oh, I'll make that into a 60-second. Or it might be a question that I had. I'm like, man, I really wish I could do this on my phone. And I go, Google, can I do this on my phone? And you figure it out and you're like, you can do it on your phone. And I bet other people would like to know that as well. So it is that, everything that I do needs to be relevant and actionable. Those are like my 2 buzzwords. So if it makes sense to most people, and if it's something you can do right then it goes in the tech break.
Wow, great. I really enjoy them. To everybody that's kind of watching or kind of tuned in, where can they find the 60-second tech breaks?
All across the web. I'm on Instagram at Tech Life Steph. I'm really everywhere at Tech Life Steph because brand consistency. But yeah, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, at Tech Life Steph.
I love the Tech Life Steph name because just in knowing and kind of hearing you speak in this moment, it really is your life. Like, this is what you do.
Well, it was a mashup of, I show people how technology makes their life easier.
Okay.
So technology and lifestyle expert Stephanie Humphries became Tech
Life
Life Steph.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha. All right. So Tech Life Steph, I noticed you've been really intentional about some of the things you do. Not even, I'm going to call it a give back piece, because as I mentioned in the intro, you have a piece that works for youth, professionals, and parents, right? Tell us about Till Death Do You Tweet.
So Till Death Do You Tweet is a 60-minute seminar that helps people understand how to be better digital citizens, mostly through responsible social media use, but also in understanding cyberbullying, sexting, and your personal brand overall. So it came out of, actually, I've been doing Till Death Do You Tweet for years and years. So even back when I was still an engineer, I worked for Lockheed Martin, and I was in a top secret role, so I wasn't really at liberty to discuss what I did with, at length anyway. You know, I do performance analysis and requirements verification, and everybody's like, "What is that?" I'm like, "Well, that I really can't say." So when I was being invited out to career days, I have a lot of friends that are educators in the Philadelphia area. So when I was invited out to career days, it was like, well, I can't really talk too much about what I do. I can't really tell them, I can talk a little bit about, the type of programming languages I'm using and stuff like that, but I can't really get too deep into the guts. So I came up with this thing at that time to not bore kids to death, basically. And that was what they were into. Social media had just sort of blown up at that point, and we were seeing a lot of the negative effects of cyberbullying and things like that. So I said, well, I can come in and talk about this. I said, I'd be happy to answer any questions about what it takes to be an engineer, what that means afterwards. But I would love to talk to them about this. So it was like a 30-minute thing, hey, think about what you're doing online kind of deal. And it's just been evolving over time to where, we get to 2012. And now I see that it is something that I can sort of put some marketing around, start monetizing it. And it really has become a way to start a conversation with a young person about what it means to have a personal brand, because they're not thinking of themselves in that way. And then what can happen if you're not managing and maintaining that brand to the best possible standard online.
And there's a piece of it where, it doesn't really go away.
No, till death do you tweet. That's why it's called what it's called, because you need to understand that, all of those things, we all need to understand that all of those things that you put out there online become a permanent part of your digital footprint. So they're going to be there. The internet is searchable and recoverable for all time. And that should inform what you do and your behavior online if you know that it's always going to be there.
So does the message change as the groups of interest evolve, right? So you're working with the youth, right? But you're working with the parents. So the parents piece, does it involve kind of a way to manage the
Absolutely.
youth?
The parents piece involves how to have that conversation. Because it's an ongoing conversation that you have to have with your kids. So how do I do that? What are some resources I can use if I need to put some monitoring software on their phone, or if I need to, add something to my antivirus? What are those resources look like? And what kind of signs should I be looking for? That my kid is in distress, maybe because they're being cyberbullied or something like that. What are those signs that I should be looking for?
When I've seen you present the actual Till Death Do You Tweet program, what I thought was really interesting, just in name, I'm thinking just Twitter, right? But it's about all social media platforms and how people leverage and use them, and how to correctly use them and not use them to damage your own personal brand, right? So it's really a branding piece that really covers a lot of different organizations organizations have employees. And you put examples out there about where employees have damaged not only their brand, but an organizational brand.
And that's the thing. And, from the professional standpoint, you need to think of yourself as a brand ambassador for your company, as well as your own brand. So how are we balancing those two things on our social, putting our own stuff and our
Sure.
own content out there, but also being mindful that we are brand ambassadors for companies if we work for someone. And then understanding that you also have a digital. I think it's harder to convince adults really that listen, you got a digital footprint. If you've ever touched a computer or ever done any sort of electronic activity, you have a digital footprint that you need to be mindful of. So let's go ahead on and get it popping.
Yes, till death do you tweet. And I believe like the URL for the website reads
It's
as such.
tilldeathdouyoutweet.com.
Exactly.
Yep.
All right, Steph. So this is the part of the program I really love where we're able to get some interaction from people that are even here today. And also, so we have a live audience today, but also people that have checked in online. So because we're in this space right now and we were speaking about kind of parents and youth, I'll go with this question. How do you build a pipeline for youth to get involved? And also, what experience in your youth brought you here?
And I'm assuming involved in tech?
In tech.
Okay. And then what
Like,
experience?
yeah, how do we build a pipeline for youth to get involved? And then is there a particular experience in your life that kind of brought you here?
I can't say there was a specific experience. I was always that kid that was good in math and science. So I would say the experience was, my mother recognizing that and encouraging that and, seeking out opportunities for me to explore that. So anything at school that, I was on the math team, there was a boggle team, there was a, if there was a field trip to, a planetarium or anything like that was something that I was encouraged to do.
Okay.
And when I say encouraged, made to do, because when your mom tell you to go do something, you go do it. So I was made. So I think that is the first thing. That's how that pipeline, if you will, gets created, is by, number one, recognizing that your child has this proclivity and encouraging it, because that doesn't always get done, unfortunately, especially in the Black community.
Yes.
If you're the nerd, you know what I mean, you tend to get ostracized. Why you got all your books with you? Why? And I can honestly say
Was that you?
No.
Okay.
Well, no, I was the nerd, but that, fortunately, I was very blessed to not have that experience where I was ostracized for it. The people in my community, in my small little community outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, were actually very proud of me because of that. I was known as the smart one. And granted, you get teased for the glasses and things like that, the aesthetics of it, but I was always encouraged because I think everybody in my small community was invested in seeing me do well. So you really do have to gather around your young people as a community, get invested in those ones that display that propensity or that curiosity. And maybe you've never been to a museum in your life, but take your kid to the museum.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Sometimes they're free on Sundays. Take your kid to the planetarium. Look for those opportunities. We all have phones these days. We all have Google. You can always just say science-related events in my area, right. And take your kid to something like that. Make sure that they're getting the help that they need in school, because I think sometimes, you may have that proclivity towards math and science, but you still need a little bit of help,
Gotcha.
In that area. If they need a tutor, talk to their teachers, like just make sure you're encouraging and cultivating that curiosity.
Okay.
I think we do too much these days to sort of crush it when we should be cultivating it.
I think that applies to adults as well. A lot of times people will say, well, I'm not tech savvy, but it's new to everyone. Like
Absolutely.
It's new to all of
Absolutely.
us to a certain extent.
It
it's a
really
new platform.
Is. And the more you can cultivate that, especially for young people, the more you take the fear out of it. Because that's the thing. It's the fear.
Right.
Everybody has a fear. I mean, I do this for a living and it's new every day for me too. And I have a hard time keeping up just like everybody else. But the thing is, I dive into it. When I don't know something, that's when I get the most excited.
Gotcha.
Because I get to learn something new. So, making sure that you continue to cultivate that feeling of curiosity in your young people is gonna do a world of difference.
Okay, so we have another question here, right?
Okay.
So the question is, most people just want to use tech.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about interpreting tech concepts in lay terms?
Well, that's what I do.
Yes.
I take simple technology terms and break them down for everybody to understand. I think we need more of that. I think that is why I do what I do and why I am motivated to do it on as big a platform as possible, because more people need to understand that this is really not as hard as it looks or it seems, and that technology is a tool that helps everybody. It's here for all of us to take advantage of, even if it's something very, very simple that becomes automated and easier for you because now you can do it on your phone, or, you know, connecting your entire house and
Yes.
controlling it from an app. So, you know, you can get as micro focused or as broad as you want,
Sure.
but we need more of that. And that's what my goal is in life. My mission is in life.
Excellent.
Is to break it down.
Love it. Love it. So this leads us right here, right? What other avenues have you been able to use your tech experience for? It seems like you've managed to use it in all avenues, right?
I'm trying. That's a great question. What other avenues? I think there are some other avenues that I could see myself pursuing in the future. There might be a startup in here somewhere, you know, in my brain somewhere eventually.
Okay.
There could be an app. There's definitely a book forthcoming. I'm about 2/3 of the way through.
Really?
So yeah. My goal is to be finished by the end of the first quarter. So pray for me, y'all. But yeah, I am looking to apply my tech experience across all the areas of my brand that I can.
Okay, excellent. We have a question that it's a difficult question to it's a difficult bridge, right? I'm a diversity recruiter, so I kind of operate in this space. But the question basically is, do you believe the tech field is underrepresented with African Americans because of access to jobs / industry, or just a lack of interest from the African American community?
I wouldn't say it was a lack of interest from the African American community, only because, you know, I went to an HBCU, I went to an HBCU. I know a lot of people at HBCUs that are computer science majors. So the human capital is there.
Okay.
I believe it is, at this point now, it's on the industry to recognize that the human capital is there, to make an actual intentional effort to go get that human capital and to not pattern match. You know, we're still in that era where, you know, you just want the guy that looks like you. So you're going to hire the white guy in the hoodie that dropped out of Stanford. And it's up to the industry at this point to broaden those horizons, to take those blinders off a little bit and go to a career fair at Florida A&M University. Shout out to my Rattlers. Or go to a career fair at North Carolina A&T or at Howard, or, you know, you have to be intentional about that. And we have to see that mindset shift. So I would not say it was a lack of interest from African Americans at all.
Right.
I think there are plenty of us out there that are, you know, interested in going into these spaces and are now deciding to do our own thing because we've been denied access to these spaces. But I think now the industry needs to step up big time.
So you spoke about internships, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even in internships and or volunteer opportunities, right? As people kind of navigate their own personal and professional career journey, do you see those as valid entrees into the actual industry? Do people have to focus in on landing an actual job, like gaining a ton of experience to land the job? Or do you really see people coming in through internships that maybe didn't have? So traditionally with internships, like let's say it was the financial industry, right? You may not have had any experience, but you get the internship and all of a sudden you're really interested in finance, right? But it seems like in the tech conversation, it's like, what are you doing in tech now? Or you might be right for an internship here. Like that's what I see. I'm really interested.
So it's like what came first?
What came first? Right, the chicken or the egg kind of deal. How do you view it?
It does seem like you are able. I think you're a little bit more able to bypass that experience in the tech space, because again, if you have those skills, and you talk about technical interviews that you go in and you're literally whiteboarding out some coding problem in the interview. So I think if you have those skills, you do get to bypass a lot of that internship experience. I don't know that necessarily you want to, though. I think, especially for when we're talking about, culture fit and all of those things, I think it's worthwhile to give yourself a chance to see if this is actually a company you want to work for. Okay. You know what I mean? Because it might not work out, and you're invested now, you got this job, you're making all this money, and now you feel like you're stuck in this space that you can't get out of. So, I think the opportunity is there to sort of shortcut that process, but I don't think if you can take it, I think you should take advantage of it. Yeah.
Gotcha. Just naturally, the National Urban League's Job Network platform has a lot of professionals on board, right? Mm-hmm. So I would imagine that there are probably some people in leadership roles, probably some people in mid-management roles and entry-level roles all on this actual webinar today. What would you like to share with them about programs and our places out there where they can stay connected and just explore tech options or tech careers in general? Like, there's stuff out there, Black Girls Code and things of that different programs. Right. I know there's some Black tech incubators and things of that nature.
Absolutely.
But what's out there that you kind of keep your eyes on, that you say, wow, it looks like they're really providing a platform for people to learn and grow in that space?
I pay a lot of attention to the Black VCs that are out there, Harlem Capital, yes. Backstage Capital, Collab Capital. Jewel Burks just started one. I mean, Rudy from the Cosby Show has a venture capital firm. So I think, in those spaces, people can sort of come together and see what's out there and what's going on and what's available and what money is available to fund certain things. And also like co-working spaces. We got a lot of the WeWorks out there, but we also have, Ethel's Room and different things like that where we can have that safe space for us to collaborate. So excellent. Yeah, that's what I look to.
All right. You've been amazing today. You shared a ton of great information. Please share with our audience how they can stay connected with you, how they can lock in to Tell Death Do You Tweet, and just any other platforms that you may want them to be able to follow Tech Life Steph on.
All across the web at Tech Life Steph, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Till Death Do You Tweet. Obviously, there is a lot of information there, some resources. And then for parents, I actually have an online course that they can take. So if, I can't make it out to your school or anything like that, there is a course you can register for as a parent as well.
Wow. And that's right. You do go out to schools and to businesses and bring the platform there.
Yeah. I'm in schools 3 or 4 times a month, I think. And, and it really is, this is my labor of love because, at the risk of going, a little dark here, like kids are out here dying because of the stuff that's happening on social media. So, it's become my mission, my ministry really, to just try to prevent one of those and try to help, one kid understand that, you don't have to add to that noise.
Sure.
That's it.
Sure. I've seen some of your posts where you're at the school and you take the selfie and all the students are behind you and they just look so excited that you're there. So I always know that you've shared great information because there's an energy to the photo.
Right. I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Well, thanks for coming out today. I really appreciate it. I know that the sponsor, Tysons Foods, is prepared to share. Actually, Steph, stick around. I want you to hear some of this because Katrina from Tysons Foods will be on to share some information and details about Tysons and IT positions and details on their women in IT group. And then we'll also have some hot jobs from Tysons as well. So let's do that. Katrina, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having us.
I'm exceptional. I'd like to introduce you to Stephanie as well.
Hi, Katrina.
Hello. Hello. Yes, welcome. Thank you. We're excited to sponsor with you all. I'm the technology recruiter here at Tyson. I think some of the points that Steph made in talking through, technology and what does that look like, and having that entrepreneurial spirit, right? That's what we're facing. From a major corporation standpoint, everybody wants to be the next person to be bought out by Google, to your point, right? But Tyson's a tech hub too. We've got some really cool things that are going on here with Tyson. When you think about the impact that you could make with feeding the world, because that's really ultimately what we do, right? So when you think of looking at machine learning and computer vision and how that comes into play with our plants, and so with fresh tray packs and eliminating waste and reduction and that sort of thing, and how do we even look at taking technology and removing the human interaction with our flocks when it comes to growing our flocks and eliminating that spread of diseases and stuff of that nature. So or even developing simpler ways for our cattle buyers to go out and buy cattle, right? Because there's a lot of different places that technology fits into Tyson, and nobody thinks about that, because again, they all want to have the entrepreneurial spirit, which is very cool, don't get me wrong, but Tyson's sexy too. We've got stuff that's going on. Come join us. And to your point, right, we do have a great Women in Technology platform. So they go out and they bring in quarterly guest speakers, they work on mentorship programs, they have different developmental programs that they do for, when you talk about career counseling or strategic thinking, and how do you move through, even in a corporation that you're already in, how do you move through the ranks from an IT standpoint as a woman? How do you grow and develop, and how do you become out there and play on the same platform as men do, right? Because technology is heavily dominated by men, and that's one of the struggles that I think Steph, you alluded to a little bit in some of the different pieces that you kind of talked to, and so we have a great technology program there when it comes to women, and they go out and they start at the like the middle school kind of level, where a lot of the schools here locally in the community will start having different conversations, right? When you talk about STEM, and so they'll go out and they'll start having those conversations with the schools and having, kind of like mock career fairs with them to get those children excited to then continue. We also have, as a program here for Tyson, we also bring in high school interns with us that are part of STEM programs at local schools here. And they spend the summer with us, and they work on real life projects, coding and maybe that's on the analytical side too. So looking at data visualization and stuff of that nature. So we've got a lot of cool programs that the team works on down there. So.
Great. So it looks like you have some jobs that you're looking to introduce to the Urban League Jobs Network platform as well.
We do. So we've got 5 hot jobs for you. Yes. I don't know if you want me to dive into those details or.
Give us the job title, give us a little bit about the job and how it relates to things that work at Tyson. We'd appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So our first one that we have is an infrastructure architect. And so they are really focused on helping us build roadmaps, the designs and the strategy around our infrastructure platform. So how does that look? Where does it go? Is that on-premise? Is it cloud? Do we look at what makes sense from there? Working partnerships, very heavily with security. And then we also have a senior analyst as well. And this one plays in our HR space, so helping with some of the general responsibilities from what you would typically see with like a business analyst. So going out and gathering requirements, working with the end users to understand what the problem is and how do we go forth and fix it. And then working with those team members that are going to be working on the actual developing and the actual coding, and even in tandem with the architects as well, as far as taking all of that and then translating it into the tech space and how do they go forth and fix those issues, if you will. We have a project manager that's open as well. So again, kind of on tandem with the senior analyst on going forth and driving those projects, right? So really driving those work streams and having ownership into, having ownership in problem solving and making sure that the projects that we are working on are come out in budget and scope and time, and working really in that agile methodology and problem solving. We also have a digital marketing analytics. So really looking for heavy data knowledge, right? So when you think about, and this also kind of plays into the last job that we have as well from the data scientist standpoint. So looking for those two roles kind of work in tandem, and looking for very heavy on the data modeling, statistic analysis, predictive analytics. So how do we go out and do some of the cool things that I had mentioned, previously in where's the analytics behind it? Where's the data behind it? What is that data really showing us? And how do we go forth and really solve the problems that are really facing and the challenges that we have here at Tyson Foods?
Sure. Wow, ton of great opportunities. Also, I know I took a look at the Tyson's website, and I know you have some great jobs listed across all industries and verticals. So, Katrina, I want to thank you very much for kind of coming out and sharing that information with us.
Yeah, thank you as well. Thanks for having us, and we're happy to be a sponsor for sure.
Thank you. Looking forward to future sponsorship opportunities and just future conversations about the jobs at Tyson. Take care. All right.
So can I just say something real quick? Because she mentioned internships for high school students.
Yes.
And honestly, it really just boils down to, because you asked me about like resources and where can people go and what can people do. Honestly, at this point in the game and at this stage and with the access that we have, it's literally a Google search. How do I find out more about tech?
Sure.
Or if you know that there is a Fortune 500 company in your area, or if you don't, what are the Fortune 500 companies in my area? Then reach out to those companies. You know what I mean? Like it requires a little bit of work, sure, but all of the information that you need is already there. It really is already there. I'm sure, Katrina and the Katrinas of all the tech companies around the world probably have empty slots waiting for people to take advantage of those opportunities. And it's just a matter of, a simple Google search. So it's not a question of, well, nobody told me about it, or I didn't know, or how are you supposed to know? And, we all have these.
Yes.
We all have these. Put it to work.
The information is out there.
The information is out there. It really is.
Speaking of information being out there, thank you everyone for joining us. But I want to tell you about a special event that's taking place. Our next Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series takes place February 25th. It'll be titled Securing Your Seat, Leading as a Person of Color. And we will do this event live from the New York Urban League's Centennial Career Fair at Microsoft Times Square, 41st and 8th Avenue if you're in the New York City area. But attendees will explore the challenges diverse leaders face as they rise in their careers and the strategies to secure your seat at the table. And no one right now is having that conversation better than our guest for February 25th, Menda Harts, author of The Memo. Listen, I'm extremely excited about this opportunity. So again, it's February 25th. We'll do a live DCSS at the round table with Menda Harts at 11 Times Square. That's 41st and 8th Avenue, Microsoft Technology Center. You'll need to register in advance for that. So it's really simple. You can register by sending information to Employment Services at nyul.org. That's the New York Urban League. But there'll be a great career fair. We got some excellent companies coming out that day, and I hope to see a lot of you there. So thank you very much to Stephanie Humphrey, Tech Life Steph. Thank you for the live audience today. This is a different experience, so I'm really appreciative of you guys coming out today. And of course, thank you to the team at the National Urban League, led by Wanda Jackson. You guys have been outstanding. Thank you so very much. We are here today, and we will be back on February 25th for another National Urban League Jobs Network Digital Career Success Series. Thank you. Yeah, and you are the best, man.
Good stuff.
Love you so much.